We're getting along from the standpoint of fairness, and I want it to be fair. We want to help Europe, but it has to be fair. Right now, the burden sharing has been largely on the United States, as the president will say, and he understands that.
As the very opposite of the selfishness of a nation which only looks after its own self-interests, because patriotism is the exact opposite of nationalism. Patriotism is the exact opposite of nationalism. Nationalism is a betrayal of patriotism by saying our interest is first. Who cares about the others?
President Macron causing quite a stir there in a speech, World War I ceremony. The headlines all over the U.S. New York Post, French diss. Macron takes shot at Trump during World War I anniversary. Washington Post, Macron denounces rising nationalism. New York Times, America First draws rebuke at ceremony as the president returns home here. Back with the panel. Thoughts, Molly?
Yeah, that was a really disappointing thing to hear from Macron. I mean, he's, first of all, just wrong. Patriotism always has an object, and the object reasonably is one's own country. Nationalism is putting your own, is identifying with your country and putting your country's interests above those of other countries. There is no need for nationalism and patriotism to be at odds at all. And if you are a good country with good values, there should be no separation between those two. The timing he chose to do this on the anniversary of the 100th anniversary of the ending of World War I, when we did so much to tip the balance there in that war. There was another war we helped out with as well. And for him to lack gratitude for what our country has done, not just in those wars, but really with providing a security blanket for much of the last 100 years, was really disappointing to see.
The other thing, Mara, is the president got some criticism for not attending the ceremony at the cemetery. It's about 50 miles from Paris. The helicopter Marine One, according to the White House, couldn't fly because of the weather. The drive was about 50 miles. They're saying it was security concerns and other issues, but obviously got a lot of criticism over there for that.
Yep, got a lot of criticism, and it might have been security reasons, but because there's this narrative that Trump himself has helped to create, which is that he doesn't really like NATO or he doesn't want to stand with U.S. allies, made it seem like he didn't want to appear. I don't think that's necessarily true. He also didn't go to any Veterans Day ceremonies today in the United States. But I think what Macron, I don't think this was all about just Donald Trump. I think this is about Hungary and Poland. He sees the rise of nationalism in Europe. He sees a kind of people who don't believe in the rules-based liberal world order where countries cooperated based on their shared values. Instead, he sees this rise of great power politics. He thinks that's dangerous. That's how World War I happened. And I think it wasn't just a rebuke to Donald Trump.
Yeah, I do think true leadership would recognize that there is this growing populism. Macron himself is a populist leader. Yeah. This is happening in many countries. True leadership would say, we understand that the people aren't with us on this global rules-based order. How do we respond to that? How do we improve NATO rather than just acting like it's not a problem?
The president tweeting out about paying the fair share to NATO and the percentage of defense GDP, but he has an argument to make that he has moved the ball there with some of those countries as far as what they contribute to NATO.
They are paying more. That doesn't necessarily mean the alliance is stronger, but they are definitely paying more. I do agree that Trump probably missed an opportunity. He should have probably walked with the other world leaders. He probably should have gone to that cemetery, not cited the rain. I think that was probably a mistake. But I have to say this, it takes a lot of gall, no pun intended, for Macron to talk about nationalism and the First World War and the concern there. No country had more to do with the start of the First World War than France. France goading Russia on into the fight. Their lusty patriotism, their desire for revenge against the Germans from the Franco-Prussian War, all of that is what hurled the West into that war that killed that took 50 million either in dead or casualties. Have a little bit more circumspection.
If you can get Franco-Prussia into a panel,
I'm here.